3, 2, 1.
Day breaks, the mind aches. I'll be running when my feet hit the ground.
Welcome to From One Mom to Another with Cindy Anderson.
I subscribe to the belief that women need women.
As a mother of 7, she is versed in all aspects of the triumphs, joys, and challenges of parenting.
Tap into your own strengths and trust that you are the best mother your children ever had.
And
give yourself some credit.
Take some time to breathe.
You are doing better than you think.
Now here's Cindy.
You are all doing better than you think. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of From One Mom to Another. My name is Cindy Anderson, author of a book called One Mom to Another. Here with me is my daughter Stephanie Taylor, and we're going to talk today about transitions in motherhood. I think one of the hardest things about motherhood are those transitions. You just figure out what to do with a baby and they become toddlers. You figure out what to do with toddlers and then they become pre-K and then they go to kindergarten. And with each transition comes a new learning curve. And it just seems like, you know, as moms, we are always trying to figure it out.
I feel like with each transition, whether they're transitioning through the newborn stages or young adult life, you just feel like you're moving to another chapter. I think depending on which stage it is, there's even a small grieving process for what
right.
you're behind with that child.
And if you have more than one child, a lot of times you're going through multiple transitions. You do just kind of have to kind of sit down for a little bit and think about it and grieve a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, you get up and you have to go fix dinner or something.
Yeah. Someone calls you for something and then...
Something, yeah. Moms don't get a lot of time for inner reflection, for sure. Babies, you know, they change every 6 weeks. So you get them figured out and
right.
then you get them figured out too, and then they start to teeth.
The main consistent part of raising or you know, growing a newborn is that things change. You get very used to that change.
Yeah. I think one of the first hard transitions for me was when the summer before kindergarten, because you've got this sweet little toddler baby, and then the toddler plus years, they go to preschool, and all of a sudden, I don't know what happens that summer before kindergarten, something changes. I don't know if they outgrow you. I don't know if it's nature's way of saying, yes, it's fine to send them to school. I don't know what happens. Did you find that with your kids?
Oh, 5 for 5. I mean, even my kids who didn't actually want to go to kindergarten, we spent that whole year refiguring each other out. Like all of a sudden they're kind of shifting in their temperament a little bit. They're, you're no longer funny.
Yeah, and I'm 7 for 7. They all did it, and it takes you by surprise, and it's hard. On the other hand, too, I mean, it's hard to send your child off to kindergarten, even if they've been driving you crazy all summer. Melanie is my oldest child, and we lived in Arizona when she was in kindergarten, and we were friends with a family of 10 children. So Melanie, our oldest, was in kindergarten class with the youngest of 10.
Ah.
So you have a young mom with her oldest child.
Right.
With a mother that's now done this 10 times.
Right.
And so I would take Melanie and just wait until I saw her go into that kindergarten room door, and then I would just be there, 20 minutes before to make sure I got her right outside, lest anything happened between the door and my car.
Right.
Well, this nice, sweet mom's had quite a few of her school kids at this elementary school, and she said, "Hey, they all walk home together. Just let Melanie walk home. They can walk Melanie home, and you don't have to come, pick her up." Because I had other kids too that I had to put in the car to go get. Yeah. Now I need to tell you that we lived 2 blocks from the school. I could literally see the school from my corner of my street that I lived on. I was a nervous wreck. I'm like, "Oh, okay." She goes, "Yeah." Tommy, who's I think was in the 4th grade, he goes and gets his siblings, and he'll just pick up Melanie when he picks up, whoever it was that was in kindergarten with her, and they'll just all walk home. It'll be great. And Melanie's like, I can do it. I want to do it. And I'm thinking, okay, well, it's only 2 blocks. Okay. No, I was a nervous wreck. And they didn't all walk on the sidewalk. They didn't walk all together. They were all, and how do I know this? Because I was on the corner watching.
Like, oh, yeah. No, I'll let them walk home unsupervised.
Yeah, I'm cool with this. And I just sat there and I thought, oh, this is a disaster. Like Melanie was walking at one point on somebody's lawn all by herself. I'm like, he's not even watching her. Okay. Now, I also have to say that every other kid from that school was walking home.
Right.
So it wasn't even just these 4 kids. There were 25, 30 kids all walking down the 2 blocks to home. Then you cut to Michael going to kindergarten.
Right.
And I dropped him off. I said he was a walker. I dropped him off about a block away. He walked the rest of the way to school because we lived too far away and too busy streets, so he couldn't walk to school.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't going to mess with that carpool stuff, and so I parked a block away. So he walked to the car, and I had to laugh because other mothers who are sending their first child out to kindergarten, how can you do that? Don't you worry about them? And I thought, well, the circle of life. So, there's that kind of thing too. The first time you do something with a child, and then, you certainly get a little bit more used to it.
Well, and I think that's the key too, those transitions, especially the first few, is the trust in statistics. That statistically, X amount of kids have done the same transition and they're all fine, and your kid will be too. Like, like you saw the 25 kids walking out of the elementary school with the 2 blocks, and they were all fine all the time. But yeah, it's just like so hard when it's like your child, because then you're just sure that they'll be the outlier on the statistical spectrum. I know. And I would also like to say that I was the only mother standing at the corner. So obviously I was the new kid on the block. I think also too that transitions are hard for children. And it's hard, whether my kids had a full day kindergarten or if your kids, have full time first grade. This is both yours and your child's, if, they were in daycare previously, of being in the care of a stranger all day long. And as amazing and as wonderful as teachers are, it's a weird shift. And I feel like it stresses them out a little bit. Like my kids would come home from especially the first 2 months of kindergarten, would just come home and just like rage yell, processing the stress. And some handle it slightly better than others, but again, almost 5 for 5. That was just their little body's way of processing just the stress of being on their best behavior all day, or their, and I would say the same is true for all different types of transitions too, whether you're putting your child in childcare for the first time, or you go back to work and there's some shift and change there. Kids process that stress in their own little ways. They really do. And I think, maybe sometimes you both have to just sit down and have a good cry. Yeah. Avery, my third child, she said, but we didn't ever see you cry. I said, well, no, I'm putting you on the bus. I was all smiles and waves and waved to you. I said, but what do you think I was doing the whole way home? Just crying or kind of throughout the day, just kind of missing you guys, or, it's hard on everybody. So what would be the takeaway then for young moms getting ready to kind of face some of these big transitions? Well, I think first off, you have those talks with them and tell them what's coming up and prepare them for what they're going to do. You like to play school. And so I'd give you little worksheets and stuff, and you would do all your answers. And I had to just put a star. All correct. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yes. And that is exactly how you said it. Yeah. 4 + 4 is indeed 22. Thank you very much. I would like my star, please. Now, the younger kids would see me do flashcards with the older kids and homework. And I remember Daniel wanted to ride the bus so badly. He would see the other kids get on the bus. And so he wanted the backpack and he wanted the lunch and everything. So we got him a backpack, put stuff in the backpack, made him a lunch.
I was the bus. I'd pull the car around to the front. He'd come out, hop in. I mean, the fun ended when he realized we were actually going to go run errands, so it wasn't as fun.
Right.
But he just, man, he was beaming. I'm coming out to the bus. And so I think, you do those kinds of things with your children too, and it helps them foster excitement, and preparing him for those kinds of things.
I always tried to find books that talked about it, whether it was, a fictional book or, whatever that dealt with whatever theme, potty training or preschool or kindergarten, just because it kind of helps kids to see it play out before their eyes in the story and realize that things are fine, have their that transition put into some kind of context for them. Maybe it would be my advice for moms, getting ready to make this transition. And
always on the first day of school, even all the way through college, how is that first day? And you just let them tell you all about it. To really, how was kindergarten and what was your teacher and what was your favorite part and what did you, and I remembered picking Daniel up from kindergarten, and he got in the car and I said, Bud, how did it go? And he goes, I have the biggest shoes and I think I can beat everybody up.
I'll take that as a win. I'll take that as a win. But let's also talk about being kind to others. That's great.
Yeah. I mean, as a mother, you're just kind of like,
All right.
So you have it all under control, and I'm going to be spending a lot of time in the principal's office. Okay. And I just think you keep open communication with your children, and there's some things you just can't plan for. You just don't know how they're gonna go. And I think, that is a good segue to middle school.
Yeah.
That transition.
You just don't know how things are going to go.
No.
In the middle school years.
Yes. Yes.
Oh
my goodness. Those are the worst.
And can I just say, I don't really understand as public school kind of formed and evolved. Like I get why you would want to separate, that age group from the younger kids and from the older kids. But you have, several hundred hormone-driven, insecure, preteen teenagers. You put them all in one building to each other with minimal adult supervision, and then you say, may the strongest survive without any major emotional, mental issues.
The hormones start to come in play. Popular kids start to come in play. Their self-esteem, they start really noticing that world around them and how do they fit in that world.
Lunchtime in the cafeteria.
Help them lunchtime.
Because in elementary, you have to sit with your class. So you have a guaranteed group of kids that you sit with.
Right.
Even if no one talks to you. At least but in middle school, you can sit wherever you want. And all of a sudden now it's like Hunger Games, right? Like you find yourself as an outlier. You don't have a pack.
Right.
You feel like you're toast.
It's just a hard time. And as they worry over their self-esteem, as they worry about being cool, that causes anxiety in them, and their behavior at home starts to change as they try to figure this out. And school steps up. They've got more homework, and they've got, more pressure, and they're changing classes, and they're, it's just, there's just a lot that's thrown at them in that middle school transition.
Absolutely. Well, and then, so not only are you dealing with different types of issues with your middle schooler than you do with your elementary schooler, but you are now what I call myself as the unpaid or underappreciated Uber driver.
Yes.
The Uber driver that does not get paid and not always even think. I would spend
it's crazy.
Like from 2:30 in the afternoon when the high schoolers were done till about 7 or 8 at night, sometimes even later, picking up, dropping off, and in all different directions and for all different things. And you just feel like I spent half of my day in a car.
I know. Well, I told you Michael was raised in a car seat.
Yeah. The biggest mistake I've ever made as a parent, when we bought our last vehicle in 2015, we were trying to be frugal, so I didn't buy anything fun in the vehicle. I will never make that mistake again. I tell every parent entering in the middle school year that if you are looking to buy a vehicle, buy the nicest van, whatever vehicle, whatever that your money can afford, because you will be, that will be your second home. You might as well really enjoy it.
I take advantage of the car time. I think when kids are struggling at school for whatever reason, trying to work their way through this new made middle school, but sometimes they withdraw and they don't talk about the things that are going on in their life. Right. And we can't help them. We can't help them with this transitional time, or if they don't talk to us. And if you try to talk to them in their house, in your home, they can say, I don't want to talk, and they can go in their room and shut the door. Right. But when you have them in the car, they're not going anywhere. And you don't even really have to talk about what's going on at school. You can just kind of have a fun conversation, and then just say, hey, how are you doing? With your friends, or talk about what they're interested in, and let them explain whatever that is, whatever that interest is. But it's a good relationship builder, so that when some hard things have to be talked about, or they're going through a harder time, you've got that base there. Because in middle school, the times that you're at odds or conflict with your children are going to be more than the times that you're not. Right. That flips, because when they're younger, that's different. So that's one thing that I always tried to do, is if I was going to be in the car 6 hours a day, I was going to use it to my advantage and really see if I, really check in with the kids and really use that time for conversation and, relationship building. Yeah. And like I said, they couldn't go anywhere. And when I raised kids, they didn't have phones and things to look at in the car. I mean, it was just me, or I could turn on the radio and they did not want to listen to my music. So
like, we can either talk and you can tell me how it's going to be, or
that's right.
What's going on?
Yeah. We can listen to Billy Ray Cyrus and Achy Breaky Heart. You just choose. Any other takeaways?
No, I love that. Just, use that car ride to talk with your kids. I would say, instead of asking, how was your day? Yes and no questions, especially in those middle school years. Ask open-ended questions. What are some things you're learning about? Yeah. Tell me about someone you talked to that day. Just, just so that they can't just give you the yes
or no.
Bye, which is pretty typical at that age.
I for a time when Melanie had a baby, I dropped off and picked up Drew, one of my grandchildren, from school. And every day he knew it was coming. What was your favorite thing that happened today? What was your least favorite thing that happened today? Yeah. And, those kinds of questions, you're absolutely right.
Well, and my girls, I never had a problem with my girls, because they're more than happy to talk. Right. And, I mean, that's just it's just their personalities. Right. I've had to get a little smarter with Weston, who's my preteen boy. I'm fine. Things are good. Yeah. Are they though? Because that tells me nothing. That tells me nothing about your life.
It's a challenging time for everybody. And, and we get through that time and they go to high school and
driving and dating. And I tell you, it is like letting your child drive and date. It's like standing on the edge of the cliff and telling them they can like peer over the cliff. Yeah. Like as far as they want. Like you're just like,
yeah. What? Yeah. So Melanie, our oldest, turned 16. And I looked at her and I thought, who in their right mind thought that a 16-year-old should be behind a wheel? Now, when I was 16, it made perfect sense.
Well, sure. And then the dating, and all of a sudden you're like, holy cow, there's so much that I haven't taught you yet. And so I would find myself like in really random moments, all of a sudden just dropping some truth bombs like, if you go on a date with a guy and he thinks that he gets to kiss you because he took you out, well, then you need to tell him. And Eden would just kind of, because she was my oldest, and her eyes would just kind of get wider and wider. And then I could always tell like when I've hit like the truly crazy point in the conversation, because then the eyes would just kind of glaze. And it was almost like a survival tactic for her to just like check out, because it was just like crazy, like trying to fit like every safety lesson I've ever learned
Well, in our day, it was make sure you have a quarter so you can use a payphone.
Yeah.
Well, they have their cell phones.
Yeah. Ours is make sure you have an Uber app on your phone. So
Yeah.
you get your own ride home if the guy's,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And it doesn't even stop. I mean, I send my kids to college and I'm saying, okay, first date, you meet him. Like you meet him there.
Oh, and the crazy thing is that when I was at school, these guys showed up in a pickup truck outside of our apartment, called out, "Hey, who wants to go to the dunes with us?" And we're all like,
oh my gosh. Yeah.
didn't even know their names. We hopped in cars. We followed them up to like these remote areas. We stayed with them all through the day, had a fire at night on the dunes, and didn't even think twice about like their predilection for like serial killer or, nothing.
Or anything. And I just would like to say how glad I am that I'm hearing this story now. I
made it home safe from all those dates.
And then let's go ahead and segue into off to college.
If dating and driving is letting your kids stand at the very edge of the cliff, I feel like sending them to college is telling them to come on the cliff and trusting that like you've given them the parachute. Mm-hmm. You've done all you can. They've got that all your teaching is like their parachute and it's going to work and they're going to apply it and they're going to be safe on the way down. Like,
right.
It is the hardest. So we sent Eden off to school on Tuesday. And because of COVID things and things with my job and my husband's job, we didn't fly out with her. But we have family there that were amazing mom fill-ins and took great care of her. I just cried that day. I cried as soon as she went down the escalator. I cried on the whole way home from the airport. I came home, cried. I took a little break from crying to take a nap because I was really tired from crying. And then I cried some more. But then the next day I was fine. But I just took a day to just kind of have a little pity party because like we were kind of saying earlier, there's just this grief you feel at losing that stage of motherhood or ending that stage of motherhood in which they are in your home. You see them at the end of each day. You're still the parent. It's just grief that you have to kind of just process. And
and this transition is different than some of the other transitions because they are so excited to go. That summer before college is like the summer before kindergarten. Like they are smarter than you. They have life figured out. They try to fire you from being their mom. They're just ready to go. And I remember taking Caroline to school and we were flying there and I was sitting in the seat thinking, I can't. She's number 6. And I was still like, I'm going to have to leave another child in a different state, of the country. Yeah. And I'm going to have to come home. I'm going to have to go home to Texas and leave her, 5-6 states away. So I turned over to look at her with a sentimental smile, and that girl is beaming from ear to ear with excitement. She could barely sit still. And the closer we got to her destination, she just got happier and happier. And I thought, oh man, like.
So I only need one box of tissues then, apparently, because
because she's not
crying.
And and Eden was prepared. She had printed out maps of the airport. She got herself through her connections. Her parachute opened. Yeah, and had so much fun with her aunts and her uncles and
having a great time.
And I texted her and said, "Hey, are you okay at night?" And she said, I just made some herbal tea and climbed in bed and I'm reading a book. And I'm like, oh my goodness, you're flying. Like that was just so sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just darling. And then the next part of the transition, I will say, is that then they realize they don't know what they're doing and they call you up. Every child has called me about day 2, day 3. Hey mom, what about this? What do I do about that? And I feel like as they transition from I know everything, and good for them that they would have. That's what they need to have the confidence, as much as it might drive us a little crazy, to have the confidence to go out into the world and make their way, as you say. Then when they realize, oh, wait a minute, still need mom, then it gives you this opportunity to start that at the beginning of what is going to be your adult relationship.
Yeah.
And it's just a wonderful thing. What are some things? Let's talk about some things that we can do that might help our kids be successful for that first year out.
Well, I think about my senior year of high school, and I didn't really have a lot of rules my senior year of high school. At that point, I didn't really have a curfew. I didn't have, I worked. I kind of just came and go as I needed to. And I always checked in with you guys, right? And I never took the car without permission, or,
you always checked in, and we always knew where you were at.
Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. But, I think it is good. It was good for me to kind of practice having some autonomy so that I didn't go out to school and then just go crazy a little bit. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, short of, hopping in random guys' pickup trucks.
Sure.
But, it was my first taste. And in a still safe place, I also had consequences for my actions. And so I got to kind of see a little bit like, oh, I got to choose things more carefully, because but it wasn't as high stakes as being out on your own yet.
Yeah. Well, and that was a conscious decision on Dad and I's part. We thought they need to be able to have that euphoria of choosing and kind of conducting their life in the safety of home, where we could intervene if we needed to, and so we did. We loosened the reins a lot.
Yeah.
So that when you went out to school, you had done this before, and maybe would be a little bit more level-headed than the kids that had never had that little bit of freedom. I remember though, Michael, he went out the first for summer after he graduated from high school. He did a summer semester. And anytime anything came up, now we were in Texas and he's in Utah. So, he'd call up and go, hey, some friends want to go camping this weekend. Can I go? I'm like, okay. Or if it was a situation that I thought didn't sound right, I'd say, well, I don't know if that really sounds, like a good idea. Where are you at with your homework? I usually kind of help him talk himself out of going. But 9 times out of 10, I'd be like, yeah, that sounds like fun. So then he left for a couple of years to serve a mission for a church. And he comes back and goes back to school. And I get a phone call. Hey, Mom, my friend from Arizona is going home, and we all want to go with him because they live on a ranch, and we want to go. Can I go? Is that okay? Like, yeah, boy, that sounds fun. You can go. Well, this went on for a year. I mean, he was probably 22, and he called me up and he said, hey, we're all going up to so-and-so's cabin this weekend. Can I go? And then he stopped and he goes, what do I still have to ask you permission? Like, if you say no, I could still just go, right? I just started laughing. And that was just so fun for me, because none of the other kids ever did that.
No.
Or, none.
I would call you, like you said, and tell you after things happened.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is what we did. And
and I remember before you went to school, I said, no bridge jumping. Yeah, you bridge jumped. I know you did.
Oh, absolutely. I called and told you. I said,
yeah, you did. And I'm like, you're not allowed to do that. And you're like, okay.
Well, I did.
Whatever, Mom. I did. So, yeah. Hence my theory of just tell me afterwards.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Michael and I really had a really good laugh about that. And then I said, yeah, but you're 22. You're 22. I was 23 years old. Like, what am I going to do? I'm in Texas and you're in Utah. And so he just laughed. And then he goes, Okay, but can I go? Yes, you can.
Michael.
So I don't know, it's just kind of an interesting time. And I think, that transition does take some preparation. I mean, certainly aren't we preparing them their whole lives to, be responsible, and money is a finite thing.
Yeah.
When the kids would want something and, just for fun, I would say, I'll go in half, or with this something that you'd spend your money on, and oh no, I don't really want it if I spend my money on it. Just having them understand about budgets and money. And
that was probably the best. So there was one summer when the girls all kind of nannied, and I said, we don't really have the money to do everyone back to school shopping. So I need you girls to get a job of sorts so that you can contribute most of your school shopping. And so the girls got this nannying job, and we went to go get their clothes. And, rewind 6 months, we would go shopping, they would ask for something, and they would say, well, it's only $45, right?
Right.
From having zero clue what it takes to earn $45. So then and they went shopping with their own like hard-earned money, and they saw like what they got per hour. When they wanted to go buy something, they were like, oh, this is like 4 hours of babysitting. Like, you know what I mean? Like all of a sudden, like
right.
That $45 sweater, actually, like they understood what $45 meant. And so I feel like that's pretty crucial for kids to experience before they leave for school.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, I think it's really important. Well, that is all the time we have for today's episode about transitions. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you got some good takeaways from this that will help you work through those transitions of mothering that are often hard and challenging. We appreciate you listening, and remember, as always, you're doing better than you think.
I need some hard